People first organizations will win in the future of work.
Your only real asset is your people.
We all want purpose-driven work.
HR-led organization is the
I'm
future.
sorry, but leaders don't lead empty desks and empty shop floors.
Welcome to the People Strategy Leaders Show. I'm your host, Sri Chellappa, founder and president of Engagedly, and a serial entrepreneur in technology, films, and music. This is where we talk to people leaders, business strategists, and organizational savants about leading in the time of change. What is working, what is not working, and more importantly, what we should be thinking about. Stick around to the end of the show. We will reveal how you can be our next guest. And now, let's engage. Hi, this is Sri Chellappa again with People Strategy Leaders Podcast. And today I'm super excited to have Karthik Ganesh join us for our next episode. Karthik Ganesh is the CEO of EmpiRx Health, a category creator and the industry's only value-based pharmacy benefits manager. Karthik has built EmpiRx Health into a high-growth, high-innovation company and has the most clinically advanced PBM in the industry. Under his leadership, EmpiRx Health has earned recognition as a multi-year Inc. 5000 company, multi-year certified Great Place to Work, and Deloitte Technology Fast 500 company. Karthik's background also includes leadership roles at Cigna, Aetna, Deloitte, and EY, the author of The Happiness Model, A Roadmap to Inner Peace. Karthik is a prolific writer and speaker on healthcare issues, leadership, and resilience, and has been featured in leading industry journals and podcasts. Welcome to the show, Karthik. So fun to have you.
Thank you.
It's so great to speak to you again. It's been many, many years. I remember the day when you first joined EY back from, I think it was Kansas State
Kansas State.
Kansas State. And I think I was your counselor.
You were my first protege. You were my first counselor, yeah.
Yeah, I was your first counselor. So I remember, you wanting to, the stars in your eyes, wanting to do big things. So it is such an exciting to see you flourish and do great things, and being a 3-time Inc. 5000 winner and building a fantastic organization. So congratulations on all the success, Karthik.
Thank you.
I will actually jump in right here. The topic that you wanted to talk about, and, we talk about people, strategy, leadership. The one thing that, we hear a lot, and I talk about that quite a bit as well, about, building a diverse and inclusive workforce. And then you obviously have done that. So can you talk a little bit about what, first of all, the results that you have in your organization from DEI perspective, and then what made you really focus on that as a core pillar of your leadership approach?
Absolutely. So just to start off with some of our key metrics, right? We are 65%. We're 65% women. 67% of our management team are women. We have you're 12% LGBTQ plus, 49%, if I'm not mistaken, people of color. We have 4 generations. So for a 7-year-old company, most folks think of younger organizations as being very millennial heavy. We have the fact that we've got 4 generations really, it speaks, as much as everything else, it speaks to the way we think about DE&I. And then we've taken DE&I to the next step outside of just what you would think of as your traditional metrics. We have made DE&I a way to be, the way we live our lives, the way we live the work aspect of our lives in this company. So we've had, as an example, we've gone through the last couple of years of COVID, and we know, mental health has been a tsunami like never before. And we firmly took the approach that mental health is health. So we've had folks who are challenged from a mental health standpoint vocalize what their challenges have been, how they've overcome them, how they deal with them, with the idea being that that inclusivity is more than a set of metrics. Inclusivity is understanding that there are demographic aspects of inclusivity, and then there are experiential aspects of inclusivity as well. And you need to be able to put them all together to build the perfect melting pot for you to be able to do the things you need to be able to do. Your question, Srikant, was about why this was an important strategy. As a healthcare services company, it was extremely important that we looked, taught, and spoke like our patients and clients. And And that only came by being incredibly deliberate about how we hired, how we compensated, what our benefits packages look like, and where we zeroed in on retention. And so the metrics I called out, the way we think about inclusivity, the way we've done experiential diversity as well, it has been it's been more art than science, because it has absolutely from all facets of the organization, it's been a labor of love in terms of trying to build the right mix here.
Now you've been there for about what, 4 years now?
4.5 years. Yeah.
4.5 years. So that's a big achievement, even in 4.5 years. So what kind of results have you seen because of that? I'm not saying it doesn't show results, but I like to understand: is there any direct correlation between DEI and your organizational performance?
Unquestionably. We've had our 4-year EBITDA CAGR as a result of this is a little north of 125%. Our 4-year revenue CAGR is bordering on 90% plus. Even with all of the talk around the Great Resignation last year, or maybe the last year and a half, our resignation rates, our voluntary attrition rates were far below anything the industry was seeing. And every single time we've gone out for an award, it's we've won it. The second part to it, though, is a lot of these folks give you these little word scrabbles in terms of the responses they received from folks. The two words that stand out every single time we've done this has been collaboration and trust. The fact that we've built a melting pot where people trust that we are trying to do the right thing, it not only enhances the results, Shrikant, but it also enhances, people want, I believe that people at this point in time, like never before in our professional lives, want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And we've given them an opportunity by not just talking about it, but actually showcasing it.
Yeah, and I think that's a very commendable achievement, to be honest. It's something that I feel very passionate about. But I will say that I struggle personally as well in trying to find the right mix of diversity in the leadership team that I have, and I'm the one I'm building. So there are fewer, I know I'm probably using this as an excuse, but to be honest, when we get presented with the options, there are fewer people to pick from, especially in the people of color in leadership, or people of different gender, or LGBT. LGBT people, we don't even know who they are when they're presented, because it's not something you see or read in the name. But so what was the deliberate approach you took to actually build that out?
We to start off with, Shrikant, what you just said is exactly what Wells Fargo said out in San Francisco, right?
Right.
Where I think their CEO said, "Hey, I just can't find enough talent in that talent pool," and we put our foot down and we said, if we're not going to find the talent, we're just going to keep looking. Mm-hmm. And even if it means we're being, we were candid with the organization. I talk to the company every month. And all hands happens every single month. When we were, especially in the early stages of my joining the organization, as we were doing a pretty significant organizational build out or transformation on the backs of a people transformation strategy, we would maybe have conversations twice a month. And we told them, guys, this is what we're trying to do. This is what is important to us. Until we can find the right mix, some of us are going to pick up more than others. And oh, by the way, that some of us includes me, right? I'm not sitting somewhere and just saying, well, this is on everyone else. We're in it together. But if we don't find the right mix, when the good to great philosophy, right people to the right seats on the bus, well, it was the notion of right people with an asterisk that said right people with the right blend of diversity in the mix. And when an organization buys into your passion for doing the right thing and building it the right way, people are willing to wait a little longer. And then for certain key places, right? The challenge we have, Shrikant, is when you look at recruiting across the industry, right? Across any industry, quite frankly, when you hire people who look a certain way, and we ask them to then go and dip into their network to recruit
Right.
more talent, their network is going to look like them.
Right.
It's just fundamentally human psychology, right? We interact with people that we feel, look, talk, hang out like us. So versus that, what we did was for key roles. So for example, for my chief people officer role, for some of the key roles in the organization, we went to external recruiters, and we found we had them bring in a talent base that looked the way we wanted them to. And then for a lot of the more junior or even mid-level recruiting, we had them go out. So when you've got an amazingly, I mean, our chief people officer is one of the smartest people I've ever worked with. She's a Black woman, former UBS first chief people officer for any city of New York department. When she's out there looking, she knows to look in places that we would never have even conceived of looking in the past. So that's the starting point. Finding people who don't look like you at the key roles, and then having them and letting them loose, because they're going to go and find people that you're never going to find by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you're building out the DES strategy, you know, are you done with that, or is there certain other initiatives you have in moving forward with that?
Not done with that. I mean, I look at it as an evolution, right? I mean, when are you actually done with it? So we continue to push the envelope harder. I mean, our benefits are deeper. I mean, what we continue to find that is more exciting for us is we find people, we are almost resonating in our tri-state market here out in the Northeast as an employer that is innovative and is looking for pockets of innovation with a very strong D&I blend to it. We've become more vocal voices in our local communities where we work and live as a result of what we're doing from a DE&I standpoint. So it's definitely an evolution for us, but versus a strategy with some very specific data points, Srikanth, for us, it's been, we know what our underpinnings are from a value system standpoint, and we want to show up each day and do the best we can to further the cause.
Yeah, no, I commend you for that, Karthik. It's to really have that intense focus and drawing the line, saying I am not going to take the easy way out. If it takes a few extra months, so be it. And that shows, obviously, conviction in your values and conviction in your approach, but also leadership. And we talked a little bit about, leadership is one of the things that you are very passionate about.
Yep.
And I read your posts on LinkedIn, and I follow you avidly as well. So talk to me about what do you think about leadership? And there are many definitions out there, but when you say leadership, what does a good leader look like and needs to do?
For me, leadership is really about two things. Some people think it's about being a cheerleader. Some people think it's here's the two things that are important to me. One, be crystal clear about your values, what you stand for, what the organization stands for, and then live those values. That's one. That's the first part. Second is really about leaving people and a place in better shape than when you first walked in. You've seen this, Srikanth. I mean, I will always maintain, if I could count the number of extremely amazing people I've worked with in my lifetime, you'd show up in my first hand, right, folks?
Thank you.
And the reason for that is there are people, I'm sure, in their careers who will look back and say, he was an extremely important person that's resulted in me being where I am. A lot of people will say that about you. Even today, when I get messages from folks who, former Express Scripts a really long time ago, people who I haven't worked with in 15, 18 years, and who are doing phenomenally well. And they will reach out to me and say, hey, this is an email from you that I saved. I got an email from someone the other day who said, this is the email you sent me 18 years ago. And I have saved it as something that I am going to hopefully pay forward over my lifetime. I think that is, you live your values and then you make a difference, and that's leadership.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. So what does another thing you talk about is innovative leadership, right? What does that mean today in this quote unquote future of work. I talk about future of work a lot because the future of work is going to be very employee centric. It's exactly what you're doing. It's going to be very employee centric. It's going to focus on inclusivity. It's going to focus on wellness, mental health, all of that. So when you talk about innovative leadership in this new world of work, what does that mean to you?
The interesting thing is I have an amazingly smart millennial. She's more like my niece, but she's actually my cousin, but she's young enough to be my niece. And she was over this weekend. And we look at some of the terminologies being thrown around these days, Shrikant, and it feels like we've always known this, right? In the Great Resignation, we've gone through how many phases of versions of the Great Resignation.
Right.
But culturally, we feel the need to coin, right? I mean, what is the new thing that's the quiet, the quiet resignation? No, what is it?
Quiet quitting.
Quiet quitting, right? And quiet quitting, exactly. I mean, my philosophy around innovation in leadership has been very simple, Shrikant. You build the right kind of company, put the right guardrails in place, be extremely transparent about what's important to you. There are folks, and when people interact with you as a leader, they should know exactly where they stand. And after that, either the organization is a good fit for them or it's not a good fit for them. Like the Buddha said, right? We're not a tree. If you don't like it, change it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not the right place for them, they need to move on and do something else with their lives. But we are a hybrid organization. I think hybrid is here to stay. I believe folks who are vocal about this notion of quiet quitting are going to realize, if they're folks in their 20-somethings or the 30-somethings, they're going to realize 10 years from now that they were extremely smart, but they hit this wall because they got so caught up in trying to label something a certain way that they did not realize that you've got to show up differently to differentiate yourself from the pack.
Right.
If you want to show up just like the rest of the pack does, you're going to be one with the pack. Do not expect to be special because you're one with the pack. And I tell people consistently, our job as leaders is to give you a rope, make sure it's taut, make sure we teach you how to climb that rope and then get out of the way. If you choose to make that rope a noose, that's your privilege.
Right. Well said. I one of the things that I think has changed about leadership, especially in the last couple of years, and more so now, is the whole concept of 8 to 5, showing, punching the clock, or keeping a time clock on how many hours a week you worked. I think that's really it seems like an archaic phenomenon, especially if you're in the knowledge worker space. And I obviously have empathy and sympathy for the retail workers and factory workers who can't necessarily get off of that because they get paid for the hours they show up at work. But at least in the knowledge worker space, it's for the outcome and the work you do and not the hours you put in. If you can get your work done in 20, 30 hours,
Completely agree.
that's good and that's great. And if you want to go over and above that for the rest of the time you have on your hand, obviously you will hopefully be recognized and rewarded for that. But it's not necessary, that's my point of view on it. And we offer unlimited vacation in the US. And I'll tell you, nobody has abused it so far. It's never been a problem. It's been like this for the last 5+ years for us. And I don't count, people say, hey, I'm taking this day off or the day off, and it's never been a problem. The only thing I ask for them is, if you are supposed to be in a meeting to add any, if they're looking for any input from you, make sure you send an email before you leave so that that's available during the meeting. And then if you can come back and listen to the recording, because now we have Zoom and all the other mechanisms of recording, you don't actually have to attend every meeting either. If it is just an informational meeting, just ask them to send you a recording and you don't need to attend, especially if you're not contributing. So there are different things have changed. And I think the good leaders are the ones who can recognize that and move forward and not be insisting on people showing up for all their meetings, people being at work by a certain time, asking people to do things when it's not necessarily convenient for them. People have, I am, I have my daughter who I needed to take to school pick her up from school on certain days, or take her to the dentist, or whatever that is. I make time for that, and I expect my people to do that as well. So I think that's, to me, is how the leadership is changing, and be able to recognize that, but focus more on the outcomes, and the process, rather than focusing on the time you put on the clock.
And I completely agree with you, Shrikant. I think productivity by itself is an archaic metric. The question is, are you effective? Which is much more important than whether you're productive, because productive, you start, exactly to your point, it becomes about a time-based metric, versus effectiveness is more outcome-centric. And we are an unlimited PTO organization as well. We are also, about 2 years ago, we took all performance reviews off. So we have no performance reviews across the organization. There's just too many biases that creep into performance reviews, and no one really leaves the conversation feeling good about themselves. So, I feel taking both of those off, just to your point just now, it significantly elevated the trust factor, because the message to employees was, we trust you, one, from a PTO standpoint, that we shouldn't be managing your time for you. Two, we trust that if we are all rowing in the same direction as an organization, you understand that an organization is a team sport, and your performance is going to be commensurate to that.
Yeah. What's interesting about Karthik, in what you're doing, is typically what a lot of startup tech companies, or Silicon Valley style companies, or companies like mine, who are in pure technology, doing. And the fact that you're doing that in the healthcare space, which is historically been very stodgy in change. I spend a lot of time in healthcare myself, and it's commendable that you're doing that. So I would think in healthcare, and maybe I'm wrong, that you are probably one of the minority in terms of the approach you're taking to talent.
We're a minority in the way we think about people. We're a minority in terms of our strategy, and we wear that as a badge of honor. It's good to be different.
Well, don't let the secret out. You don't want competition to be hearing about it.
You know what? The beauty of it, Shrikant, is even if you let the secret out, even elephants can dance, kind of a concept. A lot of these guys are, they're never going to be able to do it. It doesn't matter what it is. They just, the folks just can't get out of their own way.
Okay. So what's next for you, Karthik, now that you've been successful? And obviously the story can continue, but as you're looking forward to your own career and your organization, how are you thinking about it?
I mean, the organization continues to evolve, Shrikant. I mean, we've continued to grow. I think we're going to continue to grow. There's no question in my mind about it. 2017, before I joined EmpiRx, I realized that I had taken a 6-month break just to get off the treadmill. I wrote a book. I did some coaching, consulting, etc. And I realized that as much as I was enjoying coaching people one-on-one, coaching organizations was more of a passion for me, more so than individual one-on-one coaching. And as I think about my career, I think I don't see myself being all too excited about being a solopreneur, and it's always going to be part of something bigger than myself. But EmpiRx is, we've got our heart and our heads in the right place. And that is just going to result in tremendous results for this company. So there's no stopping us.
And I believe you. Thank you very much, Karthik. It's been a pleasure to have you on my show.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sri Chellappa here. Thank you so much for listening to the People Strategy Leaders podcast. If you are a successful leader or a people strategist who would like to be on this program, please visit engagedly.com/People Strategy Leaders podcast. If you got something out of this interview, would you share this episode on social media? If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag People Strategy Leaders. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter @Sri Chellappa. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. And thank you to Patrick Ramsey, sound engineer at Kalinga Production Studios, for recording and mixing this show.